patents to libraries for public use. Any kind of library, pretty much, a public, state, academic, or special library can be designated as a PTRC to disseminate patent and trademark information to support the intellectual needs of the public. Our focus is now on information and outreach as opposed to just providing print material. Some of the things that we offer books that can be checked out, USPTO, that's US Patent and Trademark Office, brochures, free workshops, individual consultations, outreach and displays, and research guides that we provide online, especially for the people that can't come into Wichita very often, since we're serving an entire state. Some of the books that can be checked out are really popular, such as the NOLO Press books. These are books that are written by lawyers for non-lawyers. So these are focused on things like patents for beginners, patent it yourself, patent pending in 24 hours. These make these concepts a little bit more accessible. My favorite, though, is actually called Patent Application Drafting. It's not part of the NOLO series, but it shows you what a patent application looks like before it gets formatted by the US Patent and Trademark Office, which is a really valuable resource for someone that's doing an application by themselves for the first time. We also have a lot of books about patent and trademark law. We have books about inventors and invention that are aimed at a variety of audiences, from kids through adults. We have a government documents collection as well, because we're a federal depository library. We're a selective federal depository library. KU in the state is our regional library, so they have to keep everything, whereas a selective, we can pick and choose a little bit more about what's in our collection. And because we're a PTRC, we keep a lot of the patent and trademark print material, such as the full color plant patents, which are really cool to look at, the official Gazette of the US Patent and Trademark Office, and the Index of Patents and Trademarks. Some of the brochures that we have in print are available to be picked up and taken for free. They're on our first floor near our reference books. But a lot of those same resources are available online through the USPTO website. We just like to have them in print as well. We provide an entrepreneurship research series, which is free and open to the public. You don't have to be a WSU student, faculty, or staff to attend. You can be anyone from the community in Kansas or beyond if you want to travel that far. And some of the topics in this workshop series include intellectual property basics, individual patent, trademark, and copyright workshops, business research and graphic design tools. Sometimes we have guest speakers. And not part of the series, but we also host US Patent and Trademark Office virtual presentations, which include their Intellectual Property for Beginners series and their Trademark Tuesday events. We also participate in some outreach activities. So over the summer, this is just a few of the things I got to take part in. We had a couple of people come down from the US Patent and Trademark Office regional office in Denver. It's called the Rocky Mountain Regional Office. Molly Kowalski is the regional director, and she came down with Rebecca Fritchman, who was an interim leader for their outreach team. And we did a couple of events. We had a mini maker fair at Exploration Place, and we also had a chat with the USPTO session where Lisa Roberts from the Kansas Small Business Development Center joined us as well, and that was at Reverie Roasters. We also had a session at Hopping Gnome Brewery. And then myself, I got to participate in the CREATE campaign, providing trademark assistance for entrepreneurs, because that had more of an entrepreneur focus than an inventor focus. And while a lot of entrepreneurs can also be inventors and vice versa, this one was focused on less of an inventor crowd. So it had just a trademark focus. In addition to the workshops and the resources that we provide, I'm also able to give individual consultations. And in those consultations, I explain intellectual property basics, especially if someone's coming to me and they aren't sure what they have. They just know they have something that they want to protect, but they're not sure if they need to proceed with patent protection, trademark, or copyright. I help to answer their general questions about whatever project they are working on. I connect them to legal services if needed, other organizations and resources if needed. I provide patent and trademark search training. I explain the patent and trademark application process, whichever one fits their needs. I do keep it to a 2-hour maximum per appointment, and that's simply just because at 2 hours, it's too much information, and people tend to check out a little bit. But if we need to, we can schedule a follow-up. And I prefer it if people email me to schedule an appointment, because then I can refer them to my booking link, which is on my library profile. Just a quick overview, if anyone isn't so familiar with intellectual property. Patents are used to protect inventions. Trademarks are used to protect business names and logos. Trade secrets are basically something you definitely want to keep secret because it's giving your business an advantage. And a copyright is protection of an original work of authorship. Usually there's some creativity involved, whether that is writing manuscripts or creating architecture, sculpture, blueprint drawings, an original print for fabric, whatever that might be. Maybe that's software code for your website. Anything like that, it has to have some original work of authorship. There is a little bit of overlap between patents, trademarks, and copyright. And when those situations come up, I also try to help people navigate that because they might be eligible for more than one type of protection. Some of the databases that I teach people how to use are those at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. There's 2 patent searching databases, and there are 3 trademark searching databases. Even if you're pretty good to go to use one of each, there are those 5 different ones. There's also the European Patent Office, which has a database for their patents called ESPASnet. And then Google Patents is probably the most intuitive. So I do try to teach people Google Patents a little bit more importantly because it's a little bit easier for them to use at home. But if I have the time, I will teach them from the USPTO first, just to give a better understanding of using keywords and classification searching before they get to such a broad scope as Google Patents. And that just helps them to understand the process of what they're really looking for. Some of the other resource partners that we point to here in the Wichita area especially, but not just in Wichita, we have WSU Ventures, which is the technology transfer office at WSU. Obviously, I'm on WSU's campus, so we refer to each other quite often. There's the Kansas Small Business Development Center. I especially refer people to them if they're wondering what kind of entity status they need when pursuing trademark protection, or if I think they may need another resource and I'm not sure who to turn them to. We also have events through WSU Ventures and through the Kansas Small Business Development Center on small business innovation research and small business technology transfer. So SBIR and STTR, and the Small Business Development Center's Encountering Innovation events. There's also an Inventors Association of South Central Kansas that does meet here at WSU, but they aren't sponsored by WSU. And then there's Network Kansas, the referral center. The USPTO's regional office in Denver, the Rocky Mountain Regional Office, is our regional. So if there's something that I think they can do rather than the USPTO headquarters, then I might direct them there. I can also connect people with patent and trademark pro bono services. There's a couple of different programs through the USPTO and participating law school clinics. For someone that's working on a prototype, I might direct them to makerspaces such as Make ICT or Go Create. Go Create does cost money, unfortunately, but there are scholarships available. And 1 Million Cups, I like to direct people there for some networking opportunities and to see what other entrepreneurs and business owners are doing in the community. And sometimes it's appropriate to direct people to the Wichita Chamber of Commerce as well. I do provide a couple of research guides online, and one of those is the Patent, Trademarks, and Copyright Guide. Let's see. Are you able to see this website?
Right now, we're only seeing your PowerPoint. So
okay.
If it's on the other screen, you'll have to switch to the other screen.
Okay. Let me just change my sharing settings real quick. Sorry about that.
No, I think that would be helpful, Sarah. Take your time.
Okay. Okay, are you seeing it now?
Yes, we are, Sarah.
Okay, excellent. So this is a guide that I put together for patents, trademarks, and copyright, and each one launches into its own guide. So patents has a separate page, trademarks has a separate page, copyright has a separate page. And a lot of the things that I can cover in an initial consultation are here on this guide for someone that isn't able to come in to meet with me in person. It's not fully comprehensive because I think there's some things you can get out of a face-to-face meeting that you just can't get from a website so easily. But I do have a lot of those same resources and a lot of that same information, at least to get someone started, especially for someone that is maybe looking for resources late at night. It's not business hours. They just have this invention burning in their mind and they just need to find out more about the patent process, or they want to start a business first thing tomorrow morning because they're just feeling excited about it and they want to know more about the trademark process, something to that effect. So I do try to provide those resources and links to other things that are relevant, such as our entrepreneurship research series and what workshops are coming up.
Well, I just have to ask, I think the most likely thing to happen in the middle of the night would be spooky patents.
Oh, you like my spooky patents?
Yes.
Yeah, there's another PTRC librarian on the Northeast coast somewhere. I forget where, right off the top of my head, but she creates these patent coloring books, which I still hope to do and kind of follow in her footsteps if I have the time. But I thought it would be fun to at least link to some of these really cool patents that would just catch people's interest, even if I don't have a coloring book right now. So I did create a fun spooky patents page. I hope to develop some more that are on theme like that for other seasons and holidays and such as that.
That's very fun.
Thanks. I think it's fun. It was fun putting it together. My colleagues really liked it.
I am pretty sure Jan's team will have some.
The Entrepreneurship Research Series link, which is the other one that I mentioned in my PowerPoint, links to our current events for the semester. Obviously, all of the ones for the semester have passed, but we will repeat a lot of the same ones in the spring. So I'm leaving the page up as is right now. We should hopefully have a schedule figured out within the next week or two for the spring. And as soon as I have that information available, we'll publish those to the same website, same page. So it does get linked to, and this includes the ones in our Entrepreneurship Research Series that I teach, and my colleague Megan Kuhlman, she's our business liaison librarian. So we actually teach the ones in the series, but the ones on this page that have asterisks are presented by the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, either regarding patents or trademarks. And those we'll host here in the library, but they're presented virtually by the USPTO.
So Sarah, can you stream into those remotely, or do you have to be on site?
Right now, you have to be on site. Without my knowledge beforehand, a couple of sessions ago, they did allow a couple of people to stream in, and it was actually kind of a mess because it was people that didn't know how to mute themselves. The person in charge of it didn't know how to mute them appropriately either. And there was a lot of interruptions and it didn't work very smoothly. So I'm not sure if they're going to try to do that again in the future, but for right now, it's you have to come on site to be able to view them. And it can either be from the PTRC here, or if you're closer to Denver and you want to travel to Denver to view it virtually there are different node locations for the hosting. We're just the only one that's in Kansas right now that is able to do that.
Not even KU. You mentioned KU earlier, but not even KU, huh?
No, KU isn't a PTRC. KU is the regional for our federal depository library system.
Okay.
So that's a different responsibility.
Got it. Sorry.
No, that's okay. It's not a bad question. I mean, initially, actually, there was a little bit of a battle as to who was going to be the PTRC, and it was between KU and WSU. And WSU, because they had first kind of passed on it, I think, and then as soon as KU was interested, WSU was interested again. That's what I heard, but this was also from many years ago. That was 1991. And I've heard that story secondhand, so I can't say how true it is.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yes, it does. Yes,
So I was asked to maybe provide some anecdotes of how we've been able to help people as a PTRC. I have to say that my anecdotes are a little bit limited when it comes to patents. I don't always find out where people end up after I meet with them. Sometimes they check back and they say, hey, it's great, I'm in this patent process and it looks like it's going to get approved, or maybe it did. That doesn't happen very often for me because the process for getting a patent takes a couple of years. I've been in my position this specific position since June, but I've been teaching people about patents and trademarks now for a little over 3 years, but still in the grand scheme of things, unless they happen to check back in with me, I don't always know what happens. And I would say when it comes to patents, 90% of the time, at least, I'm connecting them to legal services. So they're probably working with a patent attorney, whether it's pro bono or outright, after I meet with them. Very few actually decide to take on the patent application process by themselves as a pro se applicant. So with me not being able to give legal assistance, just general information and education and resources, that I can only help to a certain extent. And because the patent process is more complicated, often it falls into the realm where they need legal advice, and I can't give the legal advice. So if I get to that point, or I think they're going to get to that point where they need the legal help, I connect them to those resources. But I can say that I do see students here on campus that are participating in invention competitions like the Coke Innovation Challenge. I actually got to go see their final pitch presentations just last week. I got to see about 15 of the maybe 30 teams that were competing, and one of them, the very first one that was presenting, was a team of 5 students, and I got to help them with a patent search. And they found enough through their patent search to know that what they had probably wasn't protectable with a patent the way it currently was, but that it could be the way that they were developing it. And during the Q&A, that was brought up, and they were even talking about their patent search and how much it helped them, and that kind of made me feel good. I was able to get them to pinpoint the area of research they needed to go in. There's a couple of people that are students that are in biomedical engineering. There's a couple of different teams. The first team I met with to teach them patent search training just a couple of years ago, and since then I know they filed at least 2 patent applications. But they are also working with our technology transfer office on campus to do those applications. But still, I was able to introduce them to the patent process and to patent searching. And so that's really cool that I was able to be of service there. And then through the Shocker New Venture competition, which is another inventors competition for students here at WSU, there was another team that was in biomedical engineering, and they were working on this capstone project, which is what this competition is, where an engineering student or student team is paired up with a business student team. And together they find a way to make a business that pairs with their invention or their innovation. And sometimes they accidentally publicly disclose things about their invention, and then we need to talk about the patent application process if they hadn't gotten that word of warning beforehand, to see what they need to do to protect their intellectual property. So I was able to work a little bit more closely with one of those teams this last spring, and I was able to get them directed over to WSU Ventures to work on a patent application. So that was pretty cool. Some of the trademark clients that I've had, there's one that's really cool. Maybe you've been seeing her in the news here lately. There's a card game called Oopsie Poopsie that was created by a little 6-year-old girl named Chloe, and her mom and dad, Jeff and Libby Pritchett, were the ones that came in to see me to learn about trademarks, and I walked them through the trademark application process. And since then, they've applied for their Oopsie Poopsie trademark. And there's a graduate student who has since graduated, but when she was here as a student, she trademarked word print, which went hand in hand with a research process that she was working on, and an accompanying invention, which I can't go into because I'm not sure where she's at in that process. But the word print name, she did get trademarked. She later abandoned it, and I'm not sure why, but she did get it. There's another company called BareFat, which is BAREPHAT, and this is Brian and Stacy May. I think they were out of Winfield, if I remember correctly. And they came up with this BareFat. It's like a balm, and it's really cool. I mean, BALM kind of balm, if I'm not pronouncing that very well. And they're still pretty successful with their business, and they got their trademark completed, and it's live. And then there's another lady that works here on campus at WSU, but she has a side business called Dogs Are Love, where she sells t-shirts and things for nonprofit like animal shelters and such. And she was able to get her trademark on that as well. So I get to see the outcomes with trademarks a little bit more often than I do with patents or even copyright, because with copyright, someone already has the protection. It's just a matter of sometimes they choose to register their copyright with the Copyright Office. But those are just some of the fun anecdotes that I had today. I'm sure some will come to mind that I will kick myself for not thinking about later.
Yeah. How it works.
But I can open it up to questions now if anyone has questions.
That's great. Let's see. Janelle Dobson says, is looking for your email address, that she has just had a request. She just literally got a question from someone wanting to know about trademarks and to join the land of Kansas. Okay,
it is right here on my screen now.
Sara.butts@wichita.edu. That's pretty easy.
Yes. And email is best. If you happen to be on our library website page like this, though, you can also click on schedule an appointment. I tried to set up availability 2 to 3 weeks in advance, but I could work around that too. If there's an appointment time that doesn't work, you can email me to work around that. I can usually find something that works. Mm-hmm.
Great. Thank you. Good question. What other questions do you have?
Greg Panichello, if he still can't hear us.
I'm still here.
Lori Piper sent a note out, an email about a Rural and Independent Innovators Conference.
Right.
Coming up the end of January.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Ron?
Yes.
Okay, yes. That is actually correct. On the 28th and 29th, yes. We'll have, it's the full day of the 28th and half a day on the 29th. And this is the formal kickoff of our rural outreach in partnership with USDA.
Okay,
Yes.
so either
I've been-
Greg can hear me now, or else we've got a spooky problem because Ron is using my microphone.
Okay, I can hear you, but I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
I can, yes.
So whatever you did, it's fixed it. So good.
Okay.
The event will be in the Bluemont Hotel in Manhattan, and the registration is open already. And you can go to the website, which I can send out to everybody. That'll probably be easier.
That'd be great.
Why don't I do that?
Yeah.
And basically what our goal is to move our tech commercialization from just the higher tech stuff to include innovations that people throughout rural Kansas have identified as something that they'd like to commercialize. And what we're going to do is going to help them apply the technology to the marketing problem and find where, who and where we can help market it to. And then as needed, assist them with the business model and financing, whether or not it's, applying to USDA or for a loan, whether it's applying to DOD because there's some technology that can help the warfighters, whatever. So what we're going to do is try to open the door to innovation across rural Kansas.
We also hope to draw some manufacturers or machine shops that maybe have capacity, but they don't have an innovation.
Perfect.
Try to pair them up with the innovators to either make prototypes or establish production procedures.
Excellent. Point well taken. This is an open-ended, pretty much anybody, and what we'll do is it can bring their innovation forward, and it doesn't have to be a technology per se. It can be a process, or it can be anything that they think is commercializable, and we have some additional resources we're putting to bear to help them commercialize in that approach, as well as to try to commercialize something like a backpack-based cell phone jammer that works in a neighborhood rather than a whole region. So that's the kind of the difference. I mean, some of the technology we've seen at our Encountering Innovation events is just unbelievable stuff. I mean, people that can grow skin 100 times faster based on a sample of somebody's, a skin sample apparently can be stored. And if a warfighter ends up in a situation where they need skin grafting, by the time they get back to the United States, the skin can be grown and ready for them, and it's their own skin, so there's no fear of rejection.
Wow.
Some of the stuff, it's like some material that you can use that's radiation proof, God forbid. I mean, apparently that's a big deal for NASA. Anyways, some of the technology that's coming out of the woodwork, it's like so cool. We really hope and believe that that's going to also apply to our rural Kansans across the state.
Greg mentioned it's a day and a half. Day one is for everybody, but especially for those that maybe have an idea that just won't go away, and they've either made a little rough prototype or they haven't actually done anything with it. It's a nagging idea that I think this would work. I think there may be a market for this, but I don't know what to do. Day two is more for those that maybe have developed something and they're using it. Maybe their friends or neighbors are using whatever they've developed, and they just want to explore how to make that, take that to a bigger market.
So one of the other things that we're finding is that inventors and innovators believe it or not, it seems surprised to me, but like to share with other innovators. And so that's part of our model, is to help bring them together.
I think that's excellent that they're coming together and that they're finding that support. I just caution innovators to be careful about public disclosures, because it's not always on such a public stage that it would be obvious. That can even be sharing with a group of people that have not signed non-disclosure agreements, or maybe anything even before a patent application if they have something that might be patentable. So I just caution them against things like that.
Well taken point. The other side of that conversation is that two innovators came together in Wichita a year ago. And because of that coming together, they ended up with a $17 million contract for 1 year's sales to the Department of Defense and 7 renewals. So
that's awesome.
Like, oh my gosh, that was just because two people got together and realized together they could do something they couldn't do individually. So they have to be careful, but if they don't open the door, they don't know about the concepts. So
Right. They just want to be a little bit careful about how much they're disclosing.
point well taken.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And Ron and Greg have already started the process. I welcome your continued questions to Sara, but also if you have something that you'd like the group to know about that your organization is doing, that's part of our goal too, is to do that kind of sharing.
Actually, I'm going to ask Tom if you don't mind sharing your contact information and the information about our events in January. That way people can reach out to you directly rather than come to me and then me have to send them to you or Lori or Alan or whomever.
And Tom, if you would like to send that, you can send it directly to the list. I mean, you guys can reply to all, or you can send it to me and I'll send it out with the recording.
Oh,
Okay. That sounds good, Nancy. Thanks.
You bet. I think everybody wants it. Another request that we have, Sara, do you have the ability do you have maybe a little information you can send out to me so that people can include the information about the Patent and Trademark Center in an email or in a newsletter that they might put out?
I did send you my PowerPoint, but I could send you something. Let's see, just
A couple paragraphs.
Just a couple of paragraphs that maybe the Land of Kansas or a local extension director might include in their newsletter.
okay. I can do that.
That'd be fantastic.
I'm just making a note to myself.
Great.
Okay, got it.
Okay. What else do you have to share?
My compliments, Sara. This was a great presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm glad it was beneficial.
What else do you have to share?
Are you asking anybody in particular?
Everybody. Yeah, everybody. Yeah. But Greg, I know SBDC has a lot going on. Just because you've shared, you can share something else. Okay. Well, just like Sara, we all do the same thing, and I'm sure we'll get off the line and think, oh, I should have shared that. Just so you know, for those on the call, as part of our community vitality work, one thing that I am doing around the state is grant workshops. We had 60 people respond to an invitation to come to a grant workshop in Independence, Kansas yesterday, and another 60 in November that responded in Humboldt. So if you would like to host that in your local community, we like to give the Extension Office the opportunity to be the connector, and so just contact your local Extension Office or me directly if they're not interested.
Nancy, grants of any particular type or just generic?
All types. We assume about 60% of the people who come to my workshops have never written a grant, and so we assume that probably they're going to go do a local community foundation grant as their first shot. But we often have, and yesterday I bet it was a higher than usual percentage of people who have written millions of dollars worth. I think we had 5 city administrators in our audience yesterday, at least 4 of them, if not 5. And so they've written millions of dollars worth of grants. And so, yeah, the principles are the same no matter what. And the part that is just incredible in these audiences is the part that they just glow about is the shared knowledge that they get from each other. And as one participant said yesterday, I looked at the room, and when you told me you were going to give every person, 60 people, the opportunity to share, who they were, who they represented, and what their experience in writing grants was, and what grant they would write if they had the opportunity. That there was so many connections that get made out of that it's just, that's probably the most valuable part, is the networking.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Would love to come to your K-State Research and Extension doesn't charge for it, but the local host provides the audience and the copies, about 50 copies for each participant, and lunch and any hospitality for when they arrive. Okay, well, in January, on January 4th, I was kind of thinking we wouldn't hold a call. However, a new opportunity occurred. I don't know whether Steve Radley or anybody from Network Kansas is on to do a pitch, but Network Kansas, I'll give you a moment to unmute if you're on and want to tell us about it. Or if you're on, you're probably on by phone and I've got you muted. So I will say what I know about it, and that is that Steve Radley or Imogene Harris is going to talk about a new venture that they've got going on called the Kansas Community Philanthropy Innovators Network and the Kansas Community Investment Fund. And those are two new opportunities to bring money into the local community, a little bit different venue than the entrepreneurship funds they've had in the past. I will put out the future meeting schedule. As it currently stands, we're not planning to have an April meeting because I'm going to be tied up in other programming that day. So any last minute thoughts that people want to share now that I've given you a little breathing space?
Yes, can you hear me?
Pardon me?
Yes, you can hear me. This is
Yes.
Michael.
Yes, I can hear you, Michael.
Michael at the SBA, and if there's anyone on the call that has a small business that they would like to recognize for one of our awards, we're looking for Small Business Person of the Year and Exporter of the Year. And really, we've celebrated businesses from Park and Quinter areas, Emporia, Junction City. We love to highlight small businesses that have had success, and the only condition really is that they've received some sort of assistance either through SBA or SCORE or the Small Business Development Center Network. So anyone out there, I'll do the legwork. I just need a warm handoff, if you will, a referral. And deadline for the award nominations is January 9th, so I'd like to get the ball rolling this month if possible. So I guess I'll give you my email. Anyone has any suggested people or business owners, feel free to email that to me and I'll take it from there.
How can we contact you for that?
I'll give you my phone number, 316-269-6275. And my email address is Michael, M-I-C-H-A-E-L, .Aumack, A-U-M-A-C-K, at sba.gov.
Okay. I have one or two that I might send you.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks.
That's great. Good connection. Anybody else? Okay. Well.
Yeah, Nancy, I do have a question of Michael.
Great,
Michael,
Randy.
do you want those? I don't know how to ask this. Is it meant to be anonymous for the nominees, or does everybody know about the nomination going in?
It could be the nominee, the business owner, of course, that would be known, but the nominator, not necessarily if you'd rather it not be that way. I just, typically I also write a success story about the business, and I like to highlight the people that help them with, whether it be local CDC or seeding lender or small business development center. So I do that as well, but I just
Thank you. That answers my question, and very nicely as well. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good connection. Who else has a question or sharing? Okay, well, I think that might conclude our call for today. And I'm going to leave you with a thought for the day from the ultimate entrepreneur, Steve Jobs. Creativity is just connecting things. When you ask creative people how they did something, they feel a little guilty because they didn't really do it. They just saw something. It seemed obvious to them after a while. So thanks for helping us connect with each other, and we'll see you on January the 4th with Steve Radley on Network Kansas. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.